My name is Jared Stinson. I am from Hyattsville, Maryland, was better known as the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. I've been here in Atlanta for 10 years now. Before I took my leap of faith, I was living a very comfortable life. I was working for a major corporation here in Atlanta, SunTrust Bank. Had a great position, making great money. I had no idea that I would ever be an entrepreneur. It was always in my heart that I wanted to be. And I think I got that from my dad, who was one. I had like 5, 6 jobs. So I always saw him running and working and leaving one job, going to the other one. And finally, when he started his own catering business, I was like, He always used to tell us, work for yourself, work for yourself. Always sounded good, but a steady income always felt better to me, just having a steady check. And obviously, you got comfortable with that. But like I said, before that, I had a good job, had my own place. I was married, raising my kids, taking care of my family. So I can't necessarily say that I had a bad life before I decided to take my leap of faith. Just some things that I had went through that made me eventually turn to that, back to my passion, which is where I am now. Customer service, which, again, my dad was a people person, always took care of people, whether it was family, whether it was at the church, whether it was friends of ours. It was always helping somebody, always giving his time, always going the extra effort to make other people feel better. And that always kind of stuck with me. So just customer service, which I don't know how many of you feel about it, but it's sort of lacking nowadays. People are more concerned with themselves and what they got going on and just not caring about others. And I used to be like that, but eventually what you're built on comes out. Oh, I remember very well. It was in June of 2004. Again, like I said, I had a very good job. I was growing in my job, getting asked to do tasks that I had never done before. I was learning. It was 1 week that I had to go. They sent me to Las Vegas, of all places, to go to a training class. I was there for a week, passed the class, flying colors, had a good time as well. I got back to Atlanta that Sunday night, got up, went to work like a regular, normal Monday. I got to work and my supervisor called me into the office. So I'm assuming he's calling me in to talk about my trip and how'd everything go. But he said, we have an issue that we need to discuss. Make a long story short, they were going into the 3rd quarter and they were right in the middle of budget cuts. So you know how that goes. The last person hired, the first person fired. So he gave me the spiel about being laid off, and if things picked up in the future, I would definitely get a call back to come back. But I just come back from out of town, great time, get up Monday morning, go to work, and I get fired. So come home, didn't know what to think, didn't know what I was going to do next. Obviously, I had other jobs here in Atlanta and made some good connections, so I was able to reach out to a few people, companies that I had worked with before, who pretty much said, of course we would love to have you back. Significant pay cut though, when you're trying to build and grow, and then all of a sudden your world gets turned upside down. It's like you got to do what you got to do, but it's like I'm going backwards. So with that being said, obviously I took the job, started working, but it just didn't feel right. It felt like I needed to do something else. And I kind of got fed up and said, you know what? If you work for yourself, who's gonna fire you? You know, you're never gonna fire yourself. So I started seeking and trying to figure out, okay, well, what is it that you like to do, customer service? So I started looking around, trying to figure out what I could do. And I used to have a job before. I worked at Phillips Arena, downtown Atlanta. I was a concierge. And one of the main things that we dealt with the visitors and guests to the arena was, you know, on the high end, was car service. And they used to always ask us, well, how can I get a cab, or, you know, any shuttle bus or something that can take me to this hotel and that hotel. So I started thinking, maybe I should get back into that, or some aspect of that. So putting myself around other entrepreneurs, people that had already started their businesses and had already took their leap of faith, I decided, I had a lump sum of money that the company did give me, you know, when they let me go. And trying to figure out how can I make this work and how can I make this grow and work for myself, I decided to go out and buy a car, black car. And I said, I'm just gonna do it. It's gonna work, I'm gonna make it work. I'm around good people. I think I provide great service. So it kind of was a no-brainer once once you sign for a car, hell, you gotta pay for it. So I said, okay, well, I got this car now, but the money that I'm making at this new job, I can't really afford it. So I gotta figure out a way to make this car pay for itself. So I went and bought the car, had no clients, just started posting on Facebook and social media, talking to my friends about the new business venture that I was gonna start. And I went to a vision party one evening with a good friend of mine, and just sitting in the vision party and hearing everybody's stories, and you know, it started giving me more faith that it's going to work. And maybe not even a week later, one of the couples that was at the party gave me a call, and they had just started their own business as well. And they were growing and they were doing a lot of traveling. And they called and said, hey, you know, we're gonna be traveling a lot back and forth to the airport, and you know, we heard your story the other day, and we were wondering, this was maybe a Tuesday, and they said, you know, tomorrow morning we're gonna be leaving at 5 a.m. going to the airport. Do you think you can come pick us up? I said, absolutely, I'll be there. So I was like, okay, God, you know, because a lot of prayer went into this as well. I said, okay, first thing is make sure I'm up at 4:30. You know, I can't be late. So to make a long story short, I got there, got them to their flight on time. When they came back in town, they gave me the itinerary, got them home safely. And from that point on, I became their driver. That was my first clients, and that was in, I want to say March 2015. And it kind of took off from there with them. And then again, by word of mouth and social media, people just started calling, family members. Hey, my son's going to the prom. You think you can take him and his date to the prom? Absolutely. And another family member called. Hey, my son's going to the prom, and I saw the pictures from, you know, what you did for so and so. You think you can help us out? Absolutely. Then just being in the business and asking other people that I was meeting that were chauffeurs and drivers, said, well, hey, you own your own business, right? You're insured and all of this? Absolutely. Well, you know, a good way to do it is go around to some of these major limousine companies here in Atlanta and pretty much just contract yourself out. And with this vehicle you have, most of them don't have this type of vehicle, which I found to be true. I went to 2 major companies and they hired me just like that. And then they said, well, what if, you know, this high-end vehicle that you have, we get a lot of requests for this type of vehicle, but we don't have it, as you can see. So what if we, you know, gave you the bulk of the return if we were able to use your vehicle. Absolutely. This is what I've been looking for. So along with building my own clientele, I've gotten good with 4 companies now who contract me out. And even when it's slow, they call me to come and drive their own cars, their own vehicles. And we've gone on, I started in January of 2015, so January 2017, it'll be 2 years strong that I've been doing this. The same as mine before, that why would you leave a steady check? That you know you're going to get every 2 weeks. You can bank on this being there, to go to something that you have to work harder to get. Why would you want to work harder and hustle more when you can just go to this job and be comfortable?
Right.
And my answer to them was, because I'm not you. If that's what's good for you, then you continue to do that. But I've always been the type of person to be a go-getter, to reach over and beyond, to some things that I want, and I know the only way that I'm gonna get it is to go get it myself. So it didn't bother me. It kind of fueled me when people said, why, you shouldn't do that, you should give it some more time. My thing is, well, I don't know how much time I got. We living in a crazy world these days where things happen every day to good people. People are losing their lives, things are happening that we can't explain. So, time is really not on our side because we don't know what God has planned for us.
Right.
So, it just worked for me. The only regret that I have is that I didn't start earlier. That's it. I should have started 10 years ago when I moved here, and I think I would have been a lot more well off than I am now. First of all, it's personal. I do. And being an alpha male, that's major to me. Always trying to be in control and in charge and making sure that everyone is taken care of, and having that, I don't want to say burden for a lack of a better term, but always making sure my kids are taken care of. Just making sure that nobody in my circle would want for nothing, and there's nothing I can do about it. So giving me that security, giving me that no one can tell me I can't work today, that no one can tell me, well, we don't need you this week because I make my own hours, I work when I want to. It's just that sense of security that I can take care of myself and I don't need to depend on anyone else. That's major for me. Well, a perfect example is my daughter, Deja. Deja's a sophomore in college, and she recently told me that she was getting ready to start her own business. And I told her that's the best decision that I think she's made in life. Now, Deja's a good girl, she gets good grades. But being your own boss is nothing like it. So the thing that I would tell people, or my old self, don't wait. Do it as soon as you can. Even if you fail at first, even if you don't feel 100% about it, it grows with your effort. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. So that's exactly what I would tell myself, my former self, younger self. Start now. Don't wait, don't put it off. Get to it and get going. Well, again, I can go back and speak on the spirit of my dad. Obviously, he's not with us today. But my parents, both of them, were very much active in my life. Growing up, playing basketball and always encouraging me to be the best that I can. So to this day, I still talk to my mom. Still trying to make her proud, still trying to make my dad proud, to show him that I'm going to be the man that you were. still have a bunch of entrepreneur friends that we push each other. I push them in their businesses and help out when I can. They give words of encouragement. But it's just really, once you place yourself in a certain circle with certain expectations that can't be denied. And I think I've placed myself in that circle. People that really love and care about me, tell me when I'm wrong, deal with my faults. But it's just nothing like being you and being around people that love you and care about you and have your best interest at hand. And again, when you're in a circle of people that are, I like to say, hustlers, just like I am, you have no choice but to succeed. Following your dream, chasing your passion. I cannot always say that I had the spirit to go out on my own and start something on my own, because I've always, as far as I can remember, I've always worked 2 and 3 jobs for other people, other companies. Now, I always had the drive that I wanted to be on top and in charge and the captain of the team or the leader or the charge of the house, but I never had that. It was more of being nervous or being scared or saying, well, is it going to work? And doubting myself. So one thing I would tell people is don't doubt yourself. Don't wait. Time is not on your side. Make it happen as soon as you can. I don't want to say limousine service, because not everybody these days uses limousines, stretch limousines, and like they used to do back in the day, or like the celebrities use. I was in DC a few weeks ago, and I was talking to my uncle who does the same type of business up there, and he was telling me, pretty much in DC they don't even use limousines. And I'm like, what? They're in high demand here in Atlanta. So what I run is a black car service. Now we have different varieties of vehicles, from your SUVs to the regular sedans, and we also have the buses, stretch limousines, whatever you need, we have it. So it's pretty much a black car service is what I like to call it.
Okay, and how can they reach you?
Really right now, just on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Jared Stinson. I'm on Instagram, Jared Stinson.
And how do you spell that?
JARED STINSON. The name of my company is Stinson Executive Protective Service. I can be reached at 404-482-8550. But yeah, pretty much right now, as I'm still working on my website and building that to what I want it to be, I pretty much work off word of mouth and social media.